You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your boy, Brandon Combs, coming to you live on this Sunday night. Week 3 in the NFL was absolutely insane. We've got a great show lined up for you guys. Lots of stuff to get to. Tori and I are about to handle all of the NFL Week 3 madness stuff. We are going to come at you, let you guys know what we think of what went on today. We got to talk about all of our picks. Lots of wrong picks today, lots of upsets, lots of things we did not see happening. But before we get to any of that, make sure you guys click that like and subscribe button. Share it with us, with all of your friends, all of your family, and let's get this thing rolling. Before we do that, before I bring Tori on here, I do have to say a very, very congratulations to my daughter, Amy. She just called me right before the show. She is out in Hawaii visiting her boyfriend, who is also in the Army, much like she is, and they just got engaged. So that is some, exciting news, some heartbreaking news for a dad, because, that's always going to be my little girl. But I did let him know that he has a future father-in-law that will always help him hide a body. But if he hurts my little girl, he should remember that I know how to hide a body. But anyway, let's bring on my partner, as Buck would say, the peanut butter to my jam, Tori Anderson. What is going on, buddy?
Man, it has been a day.
Straight
up a day. Holy crap. I love Red Zone. I love Sundays.
Yeah.
I will sit and watch NFL Network from the time I get up till the games kick off. And then the games kicked off, and then you get to see everything. And I was like, man, the Lions are going to get off the schneid, and we will talk about that in a little bit. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a day. There has been a lot of crazy action. I am definitely going to vent about my Bears in a little while, but that's going to be in a little while. I'm not going to set the tone right off the bat, because if I go off now, this might be a 2-hour show of how the Bears need to fire Matt Nagy. We're going to save that for a little bit from now. But right now,
just wait till Tuesday. Because I'm going to have Luke. I'll have Luke G here talking about the Detroit Lions. So I did text him after the game. Check on our boy. Make sure he was okay.
I would almost rather be in the Lions position right now than the Bears going forward with Matt Nagy. I mean, at least the Lions are competing. At least the Lions competed with the Baltimore Ravens. At least it took a 66-yard, a kick that has never been made in the history of the NFL, to beat them. That's not what happened with the Bears. But like I said, we're going to get to that in just a minute. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams welcomed Tampa Bay in. Tampa Bay, who many of us consider to be the favorites in the NFC. Many of us who think are probably the best team in football still, because Tom Brady is their quarterback. They welcome in Tampa Bay and just kind of manhandled them. I mean, it was a pretty dominant victory for the Los Angeles Rams. I know the score was a little bit closer than you would think. Final was 31-17, I believe. So you got a 2-score game, but that score was not indicative of how dominant the Los Angeles Rams were today on both sides of the ball. What was your takeaway from that game today?
The Rams are probably now the favorites in the NFC, the way that they throttled Tampa Bay. Again, we're at week 3. However, they are complete. It doesn't matter who, like with Sony Michel didn't play terrible, but he didn't play great, but it just proved that they can plug and play anybody at running back. They have receivers for days. Tyler Higbee's one of the better tight ends in the league, and that defense is coming after everybody. Everybody.
In that offense, and that's what I want. Like, so let me ask you this. Let me throw a question out at you. We watched Matthew Stafford in this offense, right? But we've seen Matthew Stafford through an entire career in Detroit. Now we see how he's performing in LA. And I was a Stafford guy. I thought that they got infinitely better at quarterback and Buck highly disagreed with me when I said this, but they got infinitely better at quarterback with that trade this offseason. So is this the Matt Stafford proving to everybody that he's always been a top quarterback in this league? He's just been in a bad organization with bad coaching. Or is Sean McVay like a super offensive genius?
I don't know if Stafford's ever really been underrated as a quarterback. He's gone to the playoffs in Detroit. He just never went anywhere in the playoffs. Like, he's always proven that he was a good quarterback. Everybody knows he's a good quarterback. I think it's a little column A, little column B. He's a good quarterback, and now he's got an offensive guru genius coach to back it up. And now, like, he's going from really good quarterback to possibly elite level quarterback.
Well, if I told you that I had a quarterback that had played 12 years in the league, and in those 12 years, he completed 62% of his passes, he threw for over 45,000 yards, threw for almost 300 touchdowns, and had a 90.3 quarterback rating. Or passer rating, I should say, not quarterback rating. That the quarterback rating is an ESPN stat. Passer rating. You would probably think with those stats, that's probably Hall of Fame type numbers, right?
Not in a pass happy league this year. Like, if you don't have 400 touchdowns, you're not getting in the Hall. It's like 500.
Right, but I'm saying he's only been in this league. This is his 12th season. It's not like he hasn't played a complete career. I'm talking about he's trending there, 45,000 yards, and he's thrown like. So far in his career, you would be like, yeah, this is a guy who's headed to the Hall of Fame. These are Hall of Fame. And Matthew Stafford has never been looked at in that light. Matthew Stafford has never been looked at that guy because he's been hidden away in a very bad organization in Detroit. And they just have not been able to do much. And as much as Buck loves to say that they're going to be, 10-7 or 11-6, 11-6 is what he picked them at. And winning the
10-7,
the NFC
he said
North.
10-7.
No. He made the picks and he altered it to 11-6, and then after they lost week 1, he said 10-7. Now they're 0-3, so he's probably down to like 8-9 by now, or 9-8. I don't know.
That's only 10-4. 10-4 down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, and their schedule only gets harder than what it has been. So it's really not going to be good for. I think the Lions' best chance at winning their first game is probably going to be next week against the Bears. That's probably going to be their best chance at winning the first game. They're in Chicago. That's probably going to be the best chance to win a game because the Bears are just bad right now. But Matthew Stafford has always been an undervalued quarterback in this league. He just has been. Nobody looked at Matt Stafford when we're talking about all these quarterbacks and all the carousel. Hey, who should go after Deshaun Watson? Hey, who should go ahead and make that trade to go get Aaron Rodgers since he wants out of Green Bay? Hey, where does Jimmy G go? Hey, where, what is Patty Mahomes doing? Nobody ever said, why doesn't somebody make a trade for Matt Stafford? And the Rams did. And they look like geniuses right now. I mean, they just do. Matt Stafford is lighting it up. He is loving life in LA. I don't think, did he throw an interception today? I don't know that he did. I didn't get to watch the whole game. I had to go coach some basketball today. But
did he throw one?
I'm looking right now. He throws for 4. I know he threw for 4 touchdowns and like 300 and something yards today. He did not throw an interception today. And so Matt Stafford now on the season has thrown for 599 yards through 3 games. He has 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. And his passer rating is a 127. He's completed 70% of his passes. Is this Matthew Stafford cementing his legacy in this league? Or is this because Sean McVay has instituted a very good quarterback into his amazing offense?
I think it said he elevated the quarterback position, instituted an even better quarterback that had a bigger arm and probably better accuracy than what he had before. Where Goff had it for that year that they went to the Super Bowl, like they were an offensive juggernaut. Nobody was stopping that team. And then all of a sudden he kind of started to regress, and basically, maybe not the guy I need.
I'm not so sure they were an offensive juggernaut that year. Do you? That was so. You're talking 2008, 2019. Yeah, 2000. No, it was 2018. That was the year that I thought that the Bears were going to beat them if they would have gotten past that double doink, because that Bears, the way the Bears had beat them earlier in the year was they just shut them down defensively. I know they had that game that year where it was the Chiefs versus the Rams. I think it was a Monday Night Football game that ended up at like 74-73 or something crazy. It was an absolutely insane Monday Night Football game, but I felt like they were stoppable because Jared Goff was their quarterback. I felt like you can force Jared Goff into making mistakes that you can't force Matt Stafford into making. And I think that's the difference in the quarterbacks. I think Matt Stafford is a top 10 guy. I think that Matt Stafford has been an undervalued quarterback in the league his entire career. And now he's finally coming out and saying, hey, look, I've got an offense. I've got an offensive line. I've got a defense behind me. I've got a running game. I've got wide receivers. Watch me shine. And I think that that's what he's doing. I mean, a 127 passer rating through 3 games. That's phenomenal.
But it's not like he never had weapons, though, when he's in Detroit. I mean, he had Megatron.
He did have weapons when he was in Detroit, but he had Megatron, but no run game. He had Megatron, but no offensive line. He had Megatron, but he had no defense. And he was performing. Don't get me wrong. Like, he was performing in Detroit. He was throwing for 4,500 yards. He was constantly over 4,000 yards passing. The only 2 years that he had that were under 4,000 yards passing in Detroit were his rookie year, and then the year where it was 2018. He threw for just under 4,000, and then in 2019 he was hurt. So those are the only 3 seasons where he had thrown for less than 4,000 yards in a season. And I don't know. I mean, this is also a guy who we watched in, I forget who they were playing. Was it Atlanta? It might have been Atlanta, which is funny, honestly enough, when he freaking separates his shoulder, runs off to the sideline, says it's out, says he can't, and he goes back in for the 4th down play and throws a touchdown pass. Now, granted, it wasn't his throwing shoulder, so for Torrey, that's not as impressive as it would have been if it was his throwing shoulder. But for me, that's still pretty damn impressive. This guy is a tough quarterback. He's not going to go down easily. He's going to show heart. He's going to fight. And he's a damn good quarterback. He is a Hall of Fame type quarterback. If he plays in this Los Angeles Rams organization for the next 5 to 6 years and he finishes a 17-year career, I guarantee you we're going to be talking about this guy being a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Kind of a Kurt Warner type career, you think, then?
No, because, I think Kurt Warner was the opposite, right? So Kurt Warner was really, really good when he first came into the league, right? When he first came into the league, but after they picked him up off the grocery line in LA, he was really good, right? And then towards the end of his career, when he hit, with Arizona and all that stuff, he kind of slowed down. I think it's the opposite for Matt Stafford. I think he was held down through most of his career because of the Detroit Lions. And now he's just going to elevate it. And he might win 1, maybe even 2 Super Bowls with the Los Angeles Rams.
Well, see, because I say Kurt Warner, because Kurt Warner, obviously undrafted, was out of the league, literally did get picked up out of the grocery store.
Yeah.
To come work out with the Rams. God, they were still in St. Louis then.
Yeah.
We old. And then
Yes, we are.
they were kind of moving on from him. And then he went to the Giants, where things didn't go so great with the Giants. And then they kind of thought he was done. He signed with Arizona, and then he went right back on the upswing again. So, and there again, it's a lot like Stafford. Stafford came into a really bad, Detroit team, so it was down. They got to respectable under Jim Caldwell, where they were making the playoffs every year. And then the Lions fired him for whatever reason, because apparently making the playoffs isn't good enough for Detroit. And then they kind of went downhill again. And then now they traded him, and now he's on the upswing again.
So are the Rams the best team in the NFL? Right now, is there a better team than the Los Angeles Rams?
No. You took the world champions and knocked them right in the teeth, and they had been playing the most complete football of any team in the NFL, in my opinion, up until this week. So right now you have to consider him a front runner.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with you there. I'm still looking at teams like the Arizona Cardinals and even the San Francisco 49ers, who go into a tough game tonight against Green Bay. But I'm looking at like the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm looking at what they're doing and what they've done, as I'm trying to pull up their schedule here, but it keeps wanting to revert back to Arizona for me. They beat the Bears on Sunday Night Football. Then they beat the Colts. Now they beat Tampa. Next week, the next 2 weeks, I mean, they've got divisional games against Arizona and Seattle. So I think we'll really know at the end of those 2 weeks, is this the best team in football? Did they get kind of an easy out in the first 2 weeks? So Carson Wentz was playing them tough, and then all of a sudden he got hurt, went down, and then the Rams ran away with it. They beat the Bears on opening weekend, which, as we've seen in Chicago, like they're just not a good football team right now. So did they? Yes, they beat the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they dominate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that's very impressive. That's a very impressive win. But I'm gonna slow down and say, you know what? It's week 3. Let's see where they're at after week 5. And then we can start talking about who's the best team. It's very hard right now to say who's the best team, because I could even argue that, look, hey, Tampa Bay came in. It was, they're going from East Coast to West Coast. It's a long travel. It's a long travel week. It's, it was easy for them to lose, focus in this game. Now, that being said, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now find themselves in a tie for first place in their division with the New Orleans Saints. And so that Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, I think this has to be the reality check, right? This has to be
actually first place is all alone with the Carolina Panthers.
Carolina Panthers. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, God. Forgot about them.
Speaking undefeated
bad teams that look
Panthers.
Good right now. Anyway. All right, so we're going to head to our first break, and then we will get into some of these football games. We will talk about a lot of action today. We're going to get into the headlines. Give us 2 minutes. We will be right back. And we are back. What is going on, Man Hour Nation? Hey, so I want to say for all you guys in the chat, thank you guys for blowing it up. I mean, you guys are the best. I see Javier's in there, Drew's in there, Michelle's in there. We've got some newbies in there. I see, Dawn Reed's in there. She's been here for a while too. We got who else is in there? We've got a Facebook user in there. Hey, look, if you want to go ahead and give StreamYard access to your account, that way we could use your name and we could bring up some of this stuff. Like Facebook user says, if you don't get pressure on them, yep, they can beat anybody in the NFL. Talking about the Los Angeles Rams. If the quarterback can stand in the pocket all day long with no pressure, he's going to rip apart any secondary. I do not disagree with that whatsoever. I think that's part of what is making him so successful in LA. Damien is in the chat. He says, Bears. We're gonna get to the Bears in a little bit here. I promise. I promise. God. But anyway, we're gonna get off with some headlines here. So the Los Angeles Chargers, beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. I watched some of this game. I didn't watch all of it. I watched some of it because they were going on at the same time as the Bears, and I was getting aggravated, so I would flip it away from the Bears game for a little bit, and I would check out the Chiefs and the Chargers. The Chargers looked really, really good. They just did. They looked really, really good. Has the league caught up to Patty Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs?
I don't think the league. I think the Chargers did.
Well, this is their second straight loss. They lost to Baltimore last week too, and blew a lead.
It's the first time since Andy Reid has been in Kansas City that they have been below 500 with Patty Mahomes.
Yeah. Speaking of Andy Reid, did you hear he was rushed to the hospital afterwards? He was not feeling well, and we know he's had a history of heart complications. So hopefully he'll be okay and be back in Kansas City. So I don't know if you had heard that, but that happened after the game was over. He probably went in and lit up the team and had another heart attack or something. But I think that at some point, and I said this a while ago, at some point you've got to catch up to Patrick Mahomes and what the Chiefs are doing, because if you don't, they're just going to run rampant on the league for years and years and years. I mean, even Tom Brady, as great as Tom Brady is, and as great as New England Patriots organization has been over the last 20 years, they weren't in the Super Bowl every single year. They weren't, winning every single. They were beatable. And right now, that hasn't been the Chiefs. I mean, they've been in the Super Bowl the last 2 years. They're going every year. They're the best. They're the favorite in the AFC every single. They're the favorite in the AFC again this year. And now 2 straight losses. One being something that usually they do to other teams is what they did to them. And Baltimore came back and beat them. And if Kansas City doesn't come back in week 1, if they don't come back in week 1, they're looking at an 0-3 record right now. But as it is, they sit 1-2. You have to think that something is up here. Either the Chiefs have been exposed or they're just not playing up to expectations.
For me, it's the defense. It's the defense that's not holding up their end of the bargain. This offense has got too many weapons and too many stars to not put up points. It's their defense that was suspect last year. It was suspect the year before that. But much like a lot of these teams lately that have not had great defenses, caught fire in the playoffs, brought it when it counted, and made the Super Bowl. It seems like sometimes they just trying to do an NBA style, just get us to the playoffs and we'll turn it on from there.
I get what you're saying with that, but it's not like Justin Herbert lit it up. It's not like they were getting run all over. Austin Eckler was the leading rusher. He had 55 yards rushing. They only allowed 77 yards rushing total. And Justin Herbert only threw for 281 yards. So it's not like he lit it up. Patrick Mahomes was 27 of 44. When was the last time you could sit there and say, man, Patty Mahomes completed 27 out of his 44 attempts? That's just not Patrick Mahomes like. His rating was an 81.6.
Right.
It's usually triple digits for Pat Mahomes. That's what it's been the last 2 years anyway. He's been the guy that lights it up.
Staley. That's why Brandon Staley's the head coach. He's a defensive coach. He came in. His job. You're embarrassed. I remember, what did Lovie Smith say at his introductory press conference that he was brought to Chicago to do?
Lovie Smith?
Green Bay. Yeah.
Beat the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. Yeah.
Brandon Staley didn't say it openly, but his job is to beat the Kansas City Chiefs because they're a preeminent power in that division. And so if they want to be that preeminent power, they got to learn how to stop them.
Right.
So I think a lot of it has to do with that they have, put a lot of stock into that. They've built their defense around being able to stop that kind of offense. Much like there was how many teams in the NFC North all of a sudden were stocking up on quarterbacks because Green Bay could go 5 deep,
Yep.
At any
absolutely.
time.
And look, I picked the Kansas City Chiefs to be 14-3 this year, and I had them starting the season 0-3. Then just getting angry and just going off. And I'm not saying that that's not still going to happen, because it's very well could happen. I'm just not so sure that it's going to happen. I mean, you've still got the Buffalo Bills on your schedule. You've still got the Tennessee Titans on your schedule, the Green Bay Packers, the Las Vegas Raiders, who are playing very good football right now, the Dallas Cowboys. And you still got to play the Chargers again.
First place Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, and you've still got to play the Chargers again, and you still got to play your first place Denver Broncos again. So I just look, I'm just not so sure. I'm not sold that teams haven't figured out what's going on in Kansas City. I'm not, and I'm to the point now where it wouldn't surprise me if Kansas City goes out and just, ends the season at 15-2 or 14-3 or even 13-4. But it also wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden you find the Kansas City Chiefs after, let's say, so they've got Philly next week, Buffalo, Washington, Tennessee, the Giants, Green Bay, and Las Vegas throughout week 10. It would not surprise me if you see them at 4-6 after week 10. I wouldn't be shocked.
You just got to think at some point that defense finds its groove. The offense had a bad week against.
I know you want to think that, but Buffalo. Look what Buffalo did today. Buffalo looked really, really good today. Really good. And then you look at Washington, and we'll talk about them in a little bit, but they've got a very good defense, young defense. Hasn't shown up yet this year, but they've got a very good defense. You got the Tennessee Titans, who are playing very good football right now. The Giants, the Green Bay Packers and Las Vegas Raiders. Like, I could see them dropping games to Buffalo. I could see them dropping it to Tennessee, and I could absolutely see them dropping games to Green Bay and Las Vegas. I mean, that's 6 losses. I mean, I'm not ready to say that they are heads and tails above those teams yet.
I'm not ready to write them off into the abyss yet, though. Either I don't see it.
If they lose to Philly next week, is it over?
No, then I think we just get a pissed off Kansas City team from here on out, which would not be good for anybody in the NFL, especially since my Packers haven't played them yet. Because you got to remember, everybody's like, "Wow, the Packers dismantled them last time they played." Yeah, they were also starting Chad Henne at quarterback last time they played them. It wasn't Pat Mahomes.
And Facebook user, if you want to head up into the bio and allow StreamYard to use your name, we could bring you up and we could talk to you and we could use your name on the chat. But he says, Broncos are the Bucs of 2019. 2022, when they get a quarterback, they will be scary, even though Teddy Two Gloves is nice. No.
What more do you want? What more do you want though? Bridgewater is like playing the role that you need him to play. Like he plays efficient football.
The Denver Broncos
Are
are
3-0.
no more than the Pittsburgh Steelers of last season. They're just not. Look, yes, they're 3-0, but they're 3-0 against the New York Giants, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the New York Jets.
And which was brought up.
I mean, I just
But
don't.
isn't that called winning games you're supposed to win though?
No, absolutely, and I get that. I get that, but and I know we're going off track here, but the Denver Broncos to me, look, they're 3-0, and I expected them to be 3-0 heading into this week because of their schedule. After that schedule and what they're about to run into, so you look at their next 4 or 5 games, actually 6 games. They've got Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Vegas, Cleveland, Washington, and Dallas. If they, and I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not saying that they can't, because that defense is really good and Teddy Bridgewater is playing good football right now. If they come out of those 6 games and they are even 3-3, I'm willing to admit that this is probably an underestimated, and we overlooked the Denver Broncos. I just don't know if they're going to be better than that 3-3 in those 6 games. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't, because look, we just haven't seen them be tested yet. Again, it's the Giants, it's Jacksonville, it's the Jets. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Absolutely 110%. Kudos for doing that. Those are the things that you should be doing. But now you've got Baltimore coming in. Then you've got to go to Pittsburgh. Then you've got Vegas coming in, and then you got to go to Cleveland. You don't have back-to-back home games. You don't have back-to-back road games. You're going back and forth, and you're going coast to coast. That's a tough schedule. And if they come out of that at least 3-3, that means that they're 6-3 at that point. They're a good football team. They are. I'm just not sold that they will. I'm not. Are you? Are you sold on the Broncos?
I'm sold on their defense. And my big question mark for them is they have receivers that nobody's heard of outside of like Cortland Sutton, and they actually have developing receivers. Tim Patrick's a good receiver. KJ Hamler's a good receiver. They have receivers that are going to develop. The wild card there was that they had Melvin Gordon. It was like, well, does Melvin Gordon bounce back? Melvin Gordon's not going to be the starting back by week 5 because Javonte Williams has already almost taken his job. And Javonte Williams looks like a really good running back right now. Yeah. So, and they're getting it just seems like the Broncos are like a lot of other teams like that can just replenish and replace like a certain position. And it's like the Broncos just like, oh, we just plug and play anybody that we want. I don't care who the head coach is. We just plug and play anybody we want at running back, and they do well. Like it's just they have that weird dynamic like that. Like just like the Steelers, like no matter what, always find receivers like, oh, we drafted. Oh, they're all 7th round picks. You know,
right?
Okay.
Did it? So are you saying so the Broncos are kind of like what we were talking about last week in baseball, like the Cardinals? Like no matter how much they change, they just always find a way to compete and always find a way to be relevant.
Yes. Because that defense, they just keep rebuilding that defense, and they have a dominant defense again. Von Miller's playing like he's 25 years old right now.
Yeah.
You know, they have, they still have, what's his name? Chubb? Is it Bradley Chubb?
Well, he's hurt right now. So he didn't even, I don't even think he played.
He's not even there. But they just, all they do is restock, reload, and keep going about their thing. And they're going to be there at the end. And either they're going to be a playoff team that's going to make some noise, or they're just going to kind of fade off, but they're still going to be a thorn in everybody's side.
They're in a division, though, with the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Raiders. Raiders, who are also up there right now, they're 3-0. You've got the Broncos, who are 3-0, and then you've got the Chargers who are 2-1, and the Chiefs that are 1-2. God, The Chiefs are in the basement of the AFC West right now.
That division is pretty much flipped from how I picked it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably flipped from how everybody picked it. I just look, I've been an advocate for Teddy Bridgewater since he got hosed out of his job in Minnesota. I've also over the last year kind of changed my tune on Teddy Bridgewater just because there's a reason why this guy, every place he goes, they're okay with moving on from him to get the next guy. There's a reason why teams like they don't fight for him. They're like, oh wait, who was it in Carolina? Oh, Carolina this last year. Oh, Sam Darnold's available. Yeah. Oh, we'll let Teddy Bridgewater go. That's fine. Give us Sam Darnold.
Well, but the thing is they felt they had a better option that fit their offense better, so they went after him. New Orleans, he was a free agent. New Orleans was so close to the salary cap, they couldn't afford to pay me. Minnesota, he left as a free agent because when they had gone and signed Kirk Cousins because of the knee injury, they had concerns.
No, they traded him out of Minnesota. Minnesota traded him once they signed Cousins. Yeah, they traded him to New Orleans.
Did they trade him?
Yeah, for like a 6th round draft pick too. It was like they basically gave him away.
So, but see, to me, it's all plausible stuff.
But I mean, he would have stayed in New Orleans for less money. I mean, they went out and got Jameis Winston for what they probably could have had Teddy Bridgewater for.
No, because there again, it's the NFLPA. They're going to want their people to get paid.
So Carolina went out and grabbed him. Carolina went out and paid all this money for him on the free agent market. And then Sam Darnold became available, and they're like, all right, we're moving on. 1 year. 1 season with Teddy Bridgewater. And that's what gives me pause about Teddy Bridgewater is I think that maybe there's something in the locker room we don't know about. Maybe there's something upstairs that we don't know about. Maybe there's something we see, we don't see, I should say, in practices and studying game film and in guys who are much, much smarter, than we are looking at this tape are like, yeah, he's just not that guy. Because you don't move on from a franchise quarterback after 1 year.
Right.
And everybody's been willing to do that. And I think that at some point
the Jets did after 2 years.
Who?
The Jets.
Who'd they move on from? Darnold? Darnold's been in the league for 4 years. This is Darnold's 5th year in the league.
So after 3 years, I thought
this is Darnold's 5th year in the league, if I'm not mistaken. I'll check on that, but I'm looking at it right now, actually. So this is his 5th year in the league. He played in 2018, 2019. Oh, this is 4th year in the league. 4th year.
Yeah. So after 3 years, they moved on from him.
Well, they're also a horrible organization,
but you're trying to make the comparison that okay, so this guy didn't fit, so we can get this guy who's younger, and at that point is still cheaper because he's still on a rookie deal.
That's why they moved on from him. That's why they moved
higher
on
upside.
From him.
Higher upside. The thing is they said it during the game today too. Is Denver is paying him next to nothing because Carolina is still paying $7 million of his salary.
Yeah. But I don't disagree. But the Denver Broncos, you got to remember this too. Preseason, Denver Broncos brought in Teddy Bridgewater and made him compete for the starting job
with Drew Lock.
You said that like that's not a joke. You said that like it's not embarrassing to have to compete with a guy like Drew Lock for the starting quarterback position.
Well, a guy that's been in the system for a year and was the starting quarterback who won the job
for what, a 5-11 team? What were they last year? 5-11?
I don't even know what they were last year.
And he looked awful. So, look, again, if they come out of this next stretch of 6 games, if they come out of it 500 even, just 500, I will contest that they are a good team. I will apologize to Liz, who is one of the office assistants who keeps chiming in. Go Broncos. I think she's even sent a couple of texts with I like your friend a little bit more now that he's talking good about my Broncos. So I think that if they come out of that at least 500, they're a good team. If it's under 500 though, I'm going to be talking smack, Liz, just so you know. Anyway,
well, they're not going to be under 500 until at least after Game 7. So almost halfway through the season.
No, I said 500 in these next 6 games. They're 0-0. I'll put them at 0-0 right now. These next 6 games, if they finish at least 3-3, and that's not much to ask, right? You're playing really good teams over the next 6 weeks. If you just 3-3, you don't. I'm not saying you have to win all of them. I'm saying 3-3, 500. But anyway, moving on. We got the Saints today beat the Patriots in New England. Winston throws for 2 touchdowns. My boy Jameis eating them doves. Throws for 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Was week 2 just a blip on the radar, or are the Saints just going to be this team that we don't know which one's coming week after week?
I'm going to go with they're going to be a team that we do not know what's coming at us week to week, because the thing is that running game is really, really good in New Orleans, and it's going to cut down on Jameis's mistakes because they'll be able to feed it. Yeah. And I just don't know if you have a team that shuts down the run, completely shut down the run, shuts Kamara down in the run game, he's still going to be a factor in the pass game, and you have to lean on Jameis Winston to be your leader through the air. I am taking the other team every day of the week. I just think that it's going to be because Jameis started showing when he gets rattled, he will just start whipping it around again. Even though he threw that 1 touchdown today, he went to the sideline. Sean Payton was chewing him out for making the throw.
Yeah,
because it was a terrible decision by him, and he got lucky. So Sean Payton's like, no. That's how you throw through 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. So I just think they're going to be up and down every single week. They're going to be one of those teams that whoever they play, it's going to be almost impossible to pick that game. Because I'm pretty sure almost all of us picked the Patriots to win today.
We did. We all picked the Patriots, all except for Wyatt. I don't know who Wyatt picked because he fails to get in this thing. He's spinning the wheel of death again. By the way, he's definitely. So we actually owe you guys 2 spins on the wheel of death. Buck has to spin it once right now. Tori or Wayne Wyatt has to spin it twice, and right now Tori is losing this week because he forgot to pick the Thursday night game. Buck and I are tied at the top. I don't know who Buck picked for tonight's game. But right now, as I see, Drew says the 49ers defense is sticking it to Rodgers. So I turn off the baseball game, turn on the Niners Packers game. It's 10-0 Packers. So I'm not quite sure what to stick it to Rodgers.
That's not really sticking it to him, Drew.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I missed it. I didn't get to see it. So maybe something happened early and they held them. So then maybe I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Touchdown to Devontae.
But, oh, okay. I like it. That helps me out in fantasy football.
I was gonna say your fantasy team likes that.
Yeah, absolutely.
My one DraftKings team likes that.
All right. So the Lions dropped to 0-3. God, these poor Lion fans, man. I know Buck has them winning the division at 11-6, 10-7, now probably 9-8, 8-9. I don't know what he's got. He changes every week, but they dropped to 0-3. They have the lead, right? They've got the lead. Did you see the end of this game?
Yes.
They've got the lead. They hold it till 4th and forever from the 50-yard line. They bring out Justin Tucker for a 66-yard field goal. And this could only happen to the Detroit Lions. Justin Tucker boots up. And when I say boots up, I mean he puts a charge into it. It hits the upright and bounces in. And the Lions lose.
Into the net. Like it hit pretty good and bounced into the net. It's not like it just went ding.
If he was kicking for the Bears, that thing would have hit the upright 7 times, then hit each freaking it would have hit the crossbar 2 more times and then bounced into the end zone. But Justin Tucker kicks for the Baltimore Ravens. It hits flush on the crossbar and bounces into the net. The Detroit Lions fans have got to be beside themselves. Was this a trap game for Baltimore, or are the Lions actually good enough to compete like this every week?
I had said it already, and I said it on Luke G's show too, that it's a different attitude in Detroit. They're not going to be a good ball team this year. But this is a team that's not backing down either. Week 1, they got punched in the mouth. Granted, the Niners played prevent defense, but they could have rolled over and said, let's just get this game over with. They didn't. They started punching back and made it a close game. The first half of the game against Green Bay, they were up 17-14. This is a team that is going to learn how to win through losing right now. And it's like I said, there's a swagger to them. There's a different feel with Dan Campbell right now in Detroit as the head coach. And I said it before, like I said, on Luke G's show, it feels different. It feels like these guys are really starting to buy into what Dan Campbell was putting down. And I think, that's part of the reason he went out and got a different quarterback. He wanted to get his guy versus Stafford. So that's why they pulled the trigger on the Stafford deal. And now he's got a quarterback that he probably considers is a lot more closely aligned to Drew Brees, because that's where Dan Campbell was the coach, was in New Orleans. So
I fail to believe that the culture is changing in Detroit, because it's yet to change. There's still losing football games. It's kind of what the culture in Detroit is, losing football games. And they find crazy ways to lose these football games. They played well today. They played well enough to win a football game today. And then something crazy happened and Baltimore ends up winning that game. And I joke around that could only happen to Lions fans. And it's kind of joking around, right? Because it really could only happen to Lions fans. That's the Lions fans tend to lose that way. I don't think that Detroit is really good enough to keep competing like that with a team like the Baltimore Ravens. I think that this was more of a trap game for the Baltimore Ravens. They come off of a huge win against Kansas City, where they had to come back to win it on Monday Night Football. Short week in Detroit, should walk all over Detroit, play down to their competition, find a way to escape with a win. I think that's what this game was.
The fact that Hollywood Brown dropped 2 surefire touchdowns through his mitts in that game.
Yeah. Which he's on my fantasy team too. So yeah, that one hurt a little bit. But yeah, I feel like this was more of a trap game for the Baltimore Ravens than it was, Detroit being a solid team that can compete with top tier NFL teams right now. I don't see it. I fail to believe it. They're not that good. And I had them at 2-15 this year. I still think they're a 2-15 football team after 3 weeks. I'm not changing my opinion on them at all. Speaking of changing opinions, the Bengals beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Are the Steelers who we thought they were?
Absolutely. They're going to be up and down team. They're going to be good some weeks. They're going to be terrible some weeks. I'm more impressed with a very young Bengals team starting to grow some teeth.
Yeah. Look, Pittsburgh was impressive week 1. Yeah. Pittsburgh was, going into Buffalo and winning that game. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody had Pittsburgh winning that game. Very few. Nobody outside of Pittsburgh had Pittsburgh winning that game. And now they're 1-2 since then. They're 0-2 in Pittsburgh. And this team is just who we thought they were. They're just not that good. They're not. And you look at the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns, who are also 2-1 with the Baltimore Ravens. And the Cincinnati Bengals, I had them at 8-9 this year, I believe. What did you have them at, Tori?
I think I had them at like 6-11 or 7-10.
Yeah, they're They're a good team. They make the right calls. They make the right plays. They don't play sloppy football. They don't make stupid mistakes. And they play a clean game, and they can compete with just about anybody in this division. This team could be a sneaky wildcard team.
Could be. They have Ja'Marr Chase, who is the first receiver in NFL history in his first 3 games to have 4 touchdowns.
Ooh.
He beat the previous record holder for touchdowns in your first 3 professional games.
Yeah,
was Randy Moss.
Yep.
So I thought Ja'Marr Chase might take like a year because I'm like, they have really good receivers in Cincinnati. Yeah. So I'm like, Ja'Marr Chase is probably going he played with Burrow. He's a little bit of a security. Like, it's probably going to take him a year to get his timing. Nope. They're just like, we're going to just hit the ground running and we're just going to start lighting people up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's get down to business here. The Chicago Bears got dominated in Cleveland today. Justin Fields was 6 of 20. He threw for 68 yards and lost 67 yards on 9 sacks. So they had 1 total passing yard today. Tori, I'm going to let you go first before I absolutely lose my shit.
Justin Tucker's kick was longer than the Bears and had more offense in one play.
Yes. What's going on in Chicago? Please be smart about your answer.
You're starting a rookie quarterback.
Oh my.
One, that's never. It's not going to be great. Tell me, how well did he do today? 6 for 20 for how many yards? And a lot of that goes onto your head coach as well.
All of it goes on. You know what? I was going to let you talk, but now I'm not because you're coming up with this nonsense. All of that was on our head coach.
I'm dealing facts. I am showing you facts.
That is not facts. It has nothing to do with the fact.
6 for 20.
It has nothing to do with the fact that Justin Fields started this game. It had to do with the fact that Matt Nagy, in a game where his team
and your quarterback went 6 for 20.
You know why the quarterback went 6 for 20? Because he got sacked 9 times. The offensive line couldn't block to save their lives. But Matt Nagy was still calling plays that were requiring a 4 to 6 step drop before he could set himself to pass. That is not what you do with a rookie quarterback who is a mobile quarterback with an offensive line that can't block, with Myles Garrett and freaking Jadeveon Clowney coming through the line untouched. You roll him out. You play to his strengths. You adjust your game plan. And Matt Nagy did not show the ability to do any of that. Matt Nagy hasn't shown the ability to do that since he became a head coach in this league. Matt Nagy is a freaking clown. And he should have been fired before this week. He should have been fired before this season. And he definitely damn well better be fired before they get to the plane tonight. There was absolutely positively 110% on Matt Nagy. None of that is on Justin Fields. Justin Fields didn't throw any interceptions. No, he did not play like a rookie quarterback. He played like a quarterback that was running for his life.
6 for 20.
Because every pass that he threw, he was getting hit and rushed on. But
you knocked David Carr for the exact same thing.
Who knocks David Carr for the exact same thing? I don't knock David Carr. No, I did not. No, I did not. I didn't knock David Carr at all. I said David Carr is an underrated quarterback. That's Buck. Don't put Buck's words in my mouth. Don't make me. Not Buck's takes on me.
No, it's you because when I brought up David Carr,
I said he's underrated.
Not Derek Carr, David Carr, the number 1 overall pick of the Houston Texans when they became into the league, and he ran for his life and got murdered. You are making the exact same excuse for Justin Fields that you knocked David Carr for. You got caught, son.
No, that's not. First of all, that's not.
No.
It's not the same exact thing.
Yes, it is.
At all. He had
How's it not?
9 sacks. So he attempted. All right, so let's put this in perspective. 20 attempts, right? 20 pass attempts. Out of those 20 pass attempts, he had 9 sacks and 15 hurries.
No, because an attempt, it does not
hurries.
An attempt does not count if you get sacked. It's not an attempt then.
But the attempts, I'm talking about the hurries. 15 of his 20 pass attempts were hurries.
Yeah.
Wait, how do you want any quarterback in the league to be successful that way?
I mean, you said David Carr was terrible because of that. That man was sacked 89 times in one season.
I said David Carr was terrible because I got to see at least some sort of I guess menu of David Carr because I get to see more time. This is one freaking game. And to say that how well would have Andy Dalton played today? How well would have Andy Dalton played today? 9 sacks and 15 hurries. How well would have Andy Dalton played today?
He'd have got it out. His release time would have been 2.1 seconds.
No, it wouldn't have been. All right, so then he would have been 0 for 20 because his receivers were not open. They couldn't do anything. Matt Nagy refuses to alter his game plan for the talent that is surrounding him. Matt Nagy cannot develop a game plan. He wants freaking Justin Fields to be a pocket quarterback. And that's not what Justin Fields is. One bootleg. 3 plays were called that were designed to break containment in this entire game. 3 plays. Everything else was a drop back pass or a run. Nothing was designed to break containment.
Is he an NFL quarterback?
Oh my! Now you're just trying to get me going because I know you're not this stupid. You're not this stupid.
Is he an NFL quarterback?
Yes, he's an NFL quarterback. He's going to be a successful NFL quarterback once he gets a head coach that's not a complete trash bag.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I think he will be a successful quarterback too. However, there's still a rookie. He's still learning the game.
How can you learn the game when your head coach can't do the things that put you in a position to be successful? Your head coach can't make adjustments. Your head coach can't do the things that you need to have him do. How much of Aaron Rodgers not winning more than 1 Super Bowl do you put on the fact that he had Mike McCarthy as his head coach?
Not a ton. Because they were still putting points up.
That's not what you have said.
I will put it.
Don't you backpedal on me, Buck.
No. They had good players. The problem was we became predictable and we had no defense. For whatever reason, because everything was McCarthy wanted
Luke
to do.
G says lies. He's not an NFL quarterback. You're a Detroit Lions fan. What do you know about an NFL team, period? Try not losing to a team that you have backed up with 1 second left on the clock, 4th down from the 50-yard line, and then come talk to me about football. Talk to me about not knowing if he's an NFL. Stop it. This team is the team, the mistakes, everything that they're doing right now is 110% on Nagy because he has zero ability to alter his game plan. He has zero ability to make adjustments. He has zero ability to be an NFL head coach. And if he's an offensive guru, then I'm 6'6" and I'm more cut than The Rock. Offensive guru, my ass. He's a freaking joke. Absolute
break,
joke.
buddy.
And the Chicago Bears need to fire him. The McCaskies need to be ashamed of themselves and need to sell the team. All right, we are back. Look, Luke G says, John, name Ohio State quarterback who was a real NFL franchise quarterback in the last 30 years. I'll wait. I fired back with, name an NFL Detroit-based team that was a real professional organization in the last 50 years. I'll wait. And Drew says the Red Wings. They play in the NHL. Anyway, we bypassed shop talk for that first hour. I went off on a tangent. Everybody's pressing my buttons. As Drew says, Combs has a button the size of Texas, and everyone is pressing it today. You ain't lying. Oh, I've been aggravated all day long. All day long.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. Who won the NL Central today? Who did the Cubs play in the play? Oh.
All right, guys. So it's going to be a solo show for the second hour. Tori has been fired. He will no longer be on the show. So Luke G says, so he fires back with a question to my question. Look, I can't name you an NFL quarterback who's been a franchise quarterback out of Ohio State in the last 30 years. You're right. Okay. But just like I can't name you the last Michigan quarterback who was a backup who went on to win multiple Super Bowls. Just like I can't name you the last quarterback to come from whatever college Dak Prescott came from to be a successful NFL quarterback.
Mississippi State.
Those things happen. Okay. Those things just they happen. Just because you had a bunch of sorry quarterbacks come in doesn't mean that you have to be a sorry NFL quarterback too. And that's not going to be the case with Justin Fields, Luke. It's just not. And if that's what you think, that's just your Lions fandom coming out of you. That's not the case at all. I think you're just mad because your team got beat today by the Baltimore Ravens on a 66-yard field goal. And I think that you want to come at me with, because I also think that you're mad that I was right, that the Rams got infinitely better and the Detroit Lions got infinitely worse with that trade in the offseason. I think that that's bothering you too. I don't hate you for I love the fact that we have Justin Fields. What I hate about the Chicago Bears is our head coach and our freaking GM who's a joke. We're talking about nothing more than the Bears quarterback on your Bears who has to try to break the curse of Ohio State. Why does he have to break a curse of Ohio State? That's stupid. He doesn't have to break a curse of Ohio State. He doesn't have to break the curse of anything. He has to be Justin Fields. And what he has to overcome, the only thing he has to overcome now, it's not the ghost of Ohio State. It's not the fact that no other Ohio State quarterback has been a successful quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't have to overcome that stigma. What he has to overcome is the fact that the Bears can't put together a freaking head coach. They can't put together a coaching staff that's worth a damn right now. That's what he has to overcome. Anyway.
They can have the Wisconsin head coach after that debacle on Saturday.
I
called it though.
Let's bring Brian Kelly to the Bears. I like it.
I was a little off. I said Notre Dame by 24 and they won by 28.
Yeah, I think I had said it's not going to be that much of a blowout. Notre Dame by 23. So I was I was a little close.
Which brings does Jack Cohn get his starting job back? Or are they going to stick with the kid from Connecticut? What's his name? Penn.
If he's healthy, Jack Cohn's the starting quarterback. The kid's a freshman. He had a nice game. Nice, but it's you don't have game film on the third string quarterback, and you don't plan for seeing the third string quarterback. Then the backup gets injured, then Jack Cohn gets injured, and now all of a sudden the third string quarterback's in. And then he just look. He looked solid. I'll give him that. He looked really good against a very good Wisconsin front seven. He did. So I'll give him all the credit in the world there. I really will. Notre Dame played a great game against Wisconsin. I loved every second of it. Tori did not love every second of it, but I did.
But I called it. I bet on Notre Dame.
All right, so let's get back into some NFL. Dolphins open up a 14-point lead in Vegas, then get outscored 25-3 before forcing overtime, and then ultimately they lose it in overtime. Why haven't the Dolphins just traded for Deshaun Watson by now?
Because nobody wants to give up that asking price, and I don't blame them. Like, basically, from what is allegedly was asked for from the Dolphins was the 3 firsts, 2 firsts, Byron Jones and Xavier Howard. So both of their starting corners.
Hold on.
And
sorry,
like some other players.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off right now. Luke G's starting to aggravate me. Luke, please tell me you're watching these games before you go out and you make comments. What did Nagy Trash Elf do to make him throw interceptions and hold on to the ball? He threw for 0 interceptions today, by the way. 0 interceptions. And holding on to the ball, how do you hold on to the ball when you have a second and a half to throw? That was about the average time.
Andy Dalton would have got it out.
No, Andy Dalton's average release time is 2.1 seconds. He wouldn't have had enough time today either. God. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. Just wanted to adjust that comment in there.
No, I don't know. The asking price is still way too high. Like, literally, they asked for like 6 players plus the draft picks. Like, no. Why would you give up over a quarter of your starters?
If you trade Tua Tagovailoa, all the first round draft picks that they're asking for, because you've got 95 of them over the next 3 years. Just stop putting up Bears comments up there, because we're this is gonna end up being a Bears show, and it's not gonna be fun. If you trade Tua Tagovailoa, if you trade the draft picks, if you trade, I don't know, give them Jacoby Brissett too if you want. Give them whatever it is they're asking for, with the exception of maybe Devontae Parker, with the exception of maybe your top offensive lineman. Give them what they're asking. Give them this. If you can give them 6 picks, 3 of them being first round draft picks, and Tua, you'll get that deal done. And you'll get Deshaun Watson, and you're all of a sudden competing to be the best team in the AFC East. Instead, you're 1-2, and you're a joke right now.
They want more players. They want starters. They are asking for the draft picks plus players, which that's where they're talking about. Like, are they really even serious about trading Deshaun? Because they are asking for it's so sky high that nobody's going to pay it.
Have you met the Houston Texans organization? Because
they're not bright. That's why they can't get a deal done.
This is a team that said, "Hey, we're going to trade DeAndre Hopkins because we're going to focus on our run game," and then proceeded to sign David Johnson.
No, they traded for David Johnson in that trade.
Well, all right. So, yeah. So, I mean, there you go. Like, come on, man. Come on.
That was, and there again, Bill O'Brien. Like, and that's where I came up with the idea of let's shake the Bill O'Brien magic 8 ball.
Yeah, that was a joke. The Houston organization is a joke. They would absolutely make that trade. Miami needs to just pull the trigger on this. Miami is costing themselves a chance to be a Super Bowl contending team by not making this trade.
I don't think he gets moved, though. I don't think no team's going to pay the price they're asking. It's not going to come down until after the season when they realize that nobody in their right mind was going to pay that price.
So if I told you, if you're the Miami Dolphins GM right now, and I came to you and I'm the Houston Texans GM, you're telling me that a chance to be a Super Bowl contending team in the AFC is not worth 3 first-round draft picks, 2 seconds, a third, and Tua. Instead, you're going to be a middle-of-the-road team. You're going to be a middle-of-the-road team.
Have you read anything about
all of your pieces? Yes,
they
want
I've players.
I know what it says that
they want the players.
First of all, you know just as well as I do that what you want isn't what you get, especially in trades in professional sports. You're not going to get what you're asking for if it's more than what I just said. I'm talking 3 first-round draft picks, 2 seconds, a third, and Tua. And sure, maybe throw in another, maybe throw in a defensive back. Okay, throw in another player. Throw in Matt Gesicki if you want to. Sure. For Deshaun Watson, you're not making that deal?
And bucks in the trigger trade.
Why do you guys why? Why? I mean, at this point, I know what you guys are doing, and it's just like you guys just make yourself sound like you don't know what you're talking about. Like Lucci's over here. Oh my God, the Bears had 1.1 yards per play. No kidding. They were horrible today. I've already admitted that, and it's because of their head coach.
So nobody's paying that price. Nobody.
Why? You wouldn't pay that price? I'd pull that trigger in a heartbeat.
Price.
Why is that a steep price? Are the yes or no, the Miami Dolphins, if you add Deshaun Watson, but you subtract Tua, you subtract Matt Gesicki, and you subtract any one of your DBs, they are probably a top 4 to top 5 team in the AFC. Yes or no?
I don't know, because it changes your whole dynamic of your defense and your offense.
Why? What do you mean it changes the whole dynamic of your offense? You've still got all the pieces. Plus, you are infinitely better. I'm talking about you're adding a top 5 quarterback.
But you're pulling 3 starters.
You're pulling 3 starters, one of which is replaced by Deshaun Watson. The other one is Matt Gesicki, who's a tight end, which we all know that right now tight ends are a dime a dozen. And Matt Gesicki, while he's a very good tight end, is replaceable. And they're pretty deep on the defensive side of the ball. Not to mention your draft picks, which at this point are irrelevant because there is nothing you're going to get in the draft with those picks that is better than Deshaun Watson. How could you not make that trade? I just don't know. Like, to me, I don't get it. I don't because at that point you're saying, look, I know that Deshaun Watson makes us a playoff team. I know Deshaun Watson makes us a top tier NFL team, but you guys want a couple of starters and you want a bunch of picks, and we're just not willing to do that. We'll just stay middle of the road, middle of the pack, a good enough team to maybe be 8 and 9, and you guys can keep Deshaun Watson. That's stupid.
Or
that's not the business.
Draft capital.
How do you lose your draft cap? What are you talking about?
Use it, not lose it.
All right, so use your draft capital. Tell me who you're getting in this next NFL draft that is better than Deshaun Watson right now. Go ahead.
Probably not going. They're not going after a quarterback because there's right now.
I didn't say a quarterback. Name me one player you're going to pick that's more impactful than Deshaun Watson would be for the Miami Dolphins right now. That's
probably offensive line for them.
Now you're just rattling stuff off because I really don't believe you believe this. I really don't. Because we've talked about this before. Deshaun Watson makes any team in this league better.
He does.
It makes them a playoff,
but not at the price that they're asking currently. That's the only thing I'm arguing.
You are a playoff team in the NFL with the amount of money that brings in, with the fact that you could quite possibly become a Super Bowl contending team. That is infinitely better than anything that you are giving up. It just doesn't make sense to not make that trade. It doesn't.
I don't blame them just because you don't want to sacrifice because they want immediate picks. They want immediate picks.
Give them immediate picks. Well, they got 3 first-round draft picks this year. I think they've got 3 second-round draft picks this year, and I believe they have 3 third-round draft picks this year. They've got the draft capital to make these trades and still have picks left. Like it makes 0 sense for the Miami Dolphins. Your argument there might be okay if we're talking about. No, that argument's okay if we're talking about. No, it's not about being Madden. This argument is okay if you're talking about being the San Francisco 49ers or the Denver Broncos. Even let's throw the Niners out of here because they're a good team. The Denver Broncos are a team we're not quite sure about yet, right? They've beat 3 really bad teams. And we want to see what they can do moving forward. But if you replace Teddy Bridgewater with Deshaun Watson, we're talking about them winning the AFC West, right? We're talking about can they win the AFC West at that point. So, but for them, right now, they're winning football. Right now, they're playing good football under Teddy Bridgewater. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater fits in their system. Maybe they're a playoff team now. We just don't know yet. So to give up all that draft capital and what they would have to give up to get Deshaun Watson does not make sense for them. But for the Miami Dolphins, it makes absolutely perfect sense.
It makes any team, it makes sense to trade for Deshaun Watson. And I'm not arguing that. It's just
no, I'm talking about the
price.
price. I'm talking about the price. The price doesn't make sense if you're the Denver Broncos because you don't have the capital to give up. You don't have like the players that you would be giving up might be too much. That's not the case with the Miami Dolphins. The draft capital is not too much to give up because you still have draft picks left over. The players are not too much to give up because one, you're replacing your quarterback with a much better quarterback. You're replacing you're not replacing your tight end or your defensive back or whoever else that you're giving up in this trade, but you've got the depth to go ahead and replace those guys. And that's the luxury the Miami Dolphins have that no other team in the league has. That's why I say for the Miami Dolphins, it makes no sense to not make this trade. That's the only team I would say that this makes no sense that they don't go out right now and make this trade.
Okay, so like you said, like no, let's say I'm going to base this off. Say they have 3 firsts, 3 seconds, and 3 thirds next year.
Yep.
I would rather have 9 players on rookie contracts to go out and go sign free agents because my salary cap's still going to be really low, keeping them guys on my books. Because now, guess what? I've got 9 players.
You would rather have 9 players and keep your salary cap low than to be a Super Bowl contending team.
Because you can go after free agents then and build those pieces around it.
That makes no sense whatsoever. This team isn't
how
even
does that
close.
Not make sense?
Because this team isn't even close right now, though. They're not even close. Right now, they are running with a backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett, who's not a very good NFL quarterback. They've got the pieces to be very, very good, with the exception of the most vital position, which is quarterback. It doesn't make sense that you would want 9 guys next year to keep your cap low so you can go out and pick up some pieces. You're not going out to find that quarterback. You're not finding Deshaun Watson next year in the free agent market. You're not finding anything that's close to Deshaun Watson.
How do you know
free
though?
Agent market.
What if his law? And there again, you're forgetting about all the pending charges stuff. That's another reason no team's pulling the trigger on this right now. Because the
Houston Texans
to give that much.
If the Houston Texans were really worried about that, if this was really a thing for one, if this was really a worry, he would already be on the commissioner's exempt list, at least until the investigation's over, right? And the Houston Texans wouldn't be keeping him active, but just not letting him play. He's not in timeout, Tori. They're not putting him in timeout. They are trying to kill this guy's career because they are upset about the way he went about things. But we're not going to do. We'll agree to disagree on this. I disagree. I feel like if they made this trade, it would make a ton of sense for the Miami Dolphins. You don't think it would because they'd be paying too high of a price?
I do. Any team that can afford to get.
I agree with you on every team. On every team except for the Miami Dolphins. I think it makes no sense for the Miami Dolphins to not make that trade.
For me, financially, I get why they don't pull that trigger. You have a chance to turn. You have a chance to turn over almost, like just your first 3 round picks. So basically, what do you got? 53 guys on your active roster. So almost 20% of your roster next year to give you more cap flexibility because all them guys are on rookie contracts.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I mean, to me, it just makes no sense. But I get your argument. I think that makes sense for 31 teams in the NFL, except for the Miami Dolphins. So the Cardinals win in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence has thrown 5 picks in 3 games. Was I right when I called him a bust?
No, because you're still in the Zach Wilson train. And that guy threw 4 interceptions in like 7 attempts. So no. The thing is, though, is he showed promise. He made some good reads. He's really depending on Marvin Jones and DJ Chark to really kind of help develop him. He's made some good tosses. He's made a lot of really bad tosses as well. And again, rookie quarterback going to happen. I don't know. I think if we're at the end of the year and he's like at 17 touchdowns and 25 interceptions, I'm gonna be on team bust with you. Be like, this guy's not that good. But as of right now, if he's learning from the mistakes, we'll see. But right now, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt just because he is a solid quarterback, and how much of it is his rookie learning curve at this point.
So you're coming at me with Zach Wilson is trash and Zach Wilson is a bust. And
how many touchdowns does Zach Wilson have?
Zach Wilson to this point, I have not looked it up. But give me a second here. I can actually look it up. Zach Wilson has 2 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. Okay.
Right.
All right. And Zach Wilson has 468 yards passing. Trevor Lawrence to this point has 450 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions.
So pretty much the exact same stats.
Pretty much the exact same stance, but you're telling me Zach Wilson's trash and Trevor Lawrence isn't a bust, and I'm wrong.
Because
what are you telling me?
Because he's thrown double the touchdown passes that Zach Wilson has already. Double. You do know how to do math, right?
So he's also thrown for less yards than Zach Wilson has.
That doesn't matter.
He's also thrown for the same amount of interceptions, which, when we talk about my boy Jameis Winston, that's all you want to talk about is interceptions. He's thrown for the same amount of interceptions as Zach Wilson has.
That's what I said. If this keeps going like that, I'll be right with you, right on that train. I will jump right to that train.
I've been on that train since before he got drafted. I didn't think that this was.
But you've also been on the Zach Wilson train though too.
I have been
defending.
I have been, and thus far,
so
if
I call your guy trash and you call my guy trash, we're gonna have to agree. Both our guys are trash right now.
I agree with you that I've been wrong on Zach Wilson to this point, but I also agree that I've been right on Trevor Lawrence to this point, and I don't think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be a bad quarterback in the NFL. I think he has the potential to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. However, there were people out there, won't mention any names, Wayne G, who said that if you could build a prototype quarterback, you would build Trevor Lawrence. If you could build a quarterback to lead your organization for the next 20 years, you would build Trevor Lawrence. So you would build a guy through 3 weeks who throws for 450 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. You would be wrong, because Trevor Lawrence he's in a bad situation, in a bad organization, much like we seen with Sam Darnold in the New York Jets prior to this year. And Trevor Lawrence is in there with a head coach who is a college-minded head coach who's an idiot. I mean, let's just look. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be garbage, and Urban Meyer is not the answer. Urban Meyer is lost in the NFL. And if, I don't know if they've already filled this position, but if he doesn't run right now and take the USC job, I would be absolutely positively mind blown.
And actually, Zach Wilson has thrown 7 interceptions. He's thrown 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions on the year.
Well, then ESPN would be wrong, because I'm looking at it right now. He's tied for 33rd with 5 interceptions, 468 yards. So maybe they don't count today's.
They may not have
counted today's stats.
No,
because
he's got 628 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions.
Okay, so those didn't. Okay, so ESPN hasn't updated yet, so that's the problem. So, how many does Trevor Lawrence have then?
I'm about to go back and look.
Because Trevor Lawrence today threw for 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions again, so maybe he has 7 interceptions now too.
Yeah, he has 5 interceptions and 4 touchdowns. So that was updated.
How many yards? 450?
450.
Through 3 games. Through 3 games, he has 450 yards passing.
How many? So
that's 300 yards less than what you just told me Zach Wilson has.
As compared to the 387 that Jameis Winston has?
Jameis Winston's 2-1.
But you want to make stats though. You want to make a deal about yards now though.
Okay,
so you're gonna
that's fine. So how many touch? No, I'm talking about the 300 yards less than what Zach Wilson. I was comparing Trevor Lawrence to Zach Wilson, and Trevor Lawrence to me, I think he's a bust. I think he's going to be a bust because he's in Jacksonville.
I think that could happen. I very much think that could happen because he is in Jacksonville. He could be one of those players that goes somewhere else and becomes the person that we think he could be.
Yeah,
he could be the next Matt Stafford.
Yeah, Matt Stafford, Sam Darnold even. I mean, Sam Darnold's looking great through 3 weeks in Carolina. They're 3-0 right now. They're in first place in the NFC South, and who the hell would have thought that? I certainly wouldn't have.
I would have never. And without a CMC, well, I suppose he played most of the game, but now we'll see. We'll see what the Panthers are without a CMC.
Yeah,
starting next.
So
week.
We talked about, was I right when I called Trevor Lawrence a bust? Now let's talk about something you predicted. You had the Washington football team being what this year? What did you have them
14? They had 14, either 14-3 or 13-4.
I think you had them at 13-4. I'm pretty sure you had them at 13-4.
I did have them starting the season 1 and 2 though.
Okay, so you had them starting 1 and 2. So I mean, you're right on par there. I think you're still in the buck train of the Detroit Lions, but you had them at 1 and 2 starting the year. Did you overestimate this defense though? The way Arizona went in and kind of beat them down today, their losses so far they've been pretty bad. I mean, what are we looking at here? We're looking at they gave up 20 to the Chargers and lost 20-16. They did beat the Giants, but they gave up 29 points. And then they gave up 43 today to the Buffalo Bills. So that's 43, that's 72, and that is 92 points in the first 3 games. So they are averaging just under 30 points a game.
Yeah.
That's not
against
top 5
the higher
defense.
flying. They will though. It's a Ron Rivera team. They will round into shape. And that's why like I said, I had them picked to start the season 1 and 2. I didn't expect them to beat the Chargers. I did not expect them to beat the Buffalo Bills either. You got to remember, they still have a bunch of divisional games that they probably won't lose a divisional game.
Yeah.
They have 9 divisional
coming up. They've got the Falcons next week in Atlanta. The Falcons in Atlanta. They should win that game, right? Because they're better than the Atlanta Falcons.
I don't know. Those gritty gutty Atlanta Falcons pulled one out today.
But yes, against the New York Giants.
Right. Washington should stomp them.
Yeah, and then they play the Saints at home.
They should stomp them.
You feel they're better than the Saints. I don't. Then you've got the Kansas City Chiefs.
They
in
will
Washington.
lose that game.
Then they've got the
it's in Washington.
Then they've got the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau.
I think they may win that one too.
Wow. Then they've got the Broncos in Denver.
They can win that.
I don't disagree there. Then they got Tampa Bay.
That's probably an L.
Then they got the Panthers, who are playing very good football right now.
That's a W.
Then they got the Seahawks.
At home, right?
Yep.
Yep, W.
Then they're in Las Vegas against the Raiders.
W.
All right, then they play nothing but divisional game. That's a tough schedule, man. It's divisional games to round out they got the Cowboys, Eagles, Giants.
Wow, that to end the season?
To end the season, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants.
That's a 5-game winning streak to close out the season.
They're not better than the Cowboys. Stop it.
Yes, they are.
They are not.
I will say,
if this defense is allowing 30 points a game when they face the Dallas Cowboys, they're going to get hosed by the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys are going to win that game by 3 scores.
No.
Oh boy. Okay.
McCarthy will be the first head coach fired this year.
The Cowboys don't fire head coaches midseason. They let Jason Garrett stay their head coach for like 5 years longer than he should have been.
And he got fired. They fired Wade Phillips mid-season after Green Bay whooped the crap out of them. They fired him mid-season. I thought they finished. Yeah. It was right after the Monday Night Football game. We dropped like 48, beat them like 48-14. They fired Wade Phillips after the game. That was the season Green Bay got we beat down somebody else, and the head coach got fired after the game that year too.
You guys are just getting people fired, making them lose their job.
People fired.
Is that what you're doing?
Right.
All right. Perfect. All right. So yeah, I don't know. I think to this point you've overestimated that defense. I think we all did. I thought they were going to be better than what they are. I wouldn't have thought that they'd be averaging 30 points. I thought their defense was going to keep them in their games. Instead, we've got a guy like
the X Factor is Taylor Henneke. Henneke's played well. He has not played terrible. I think.
Does he benefit from having the guys in his locker room that he does, the guys in the quarterback room that he does? Does he benefit from having a Rhodes Scholar sitting there in the meetings teaching him stuff?
Could be. I don't know. Because there again, Fitzmagic, obviously is hurt, can't play. So
yeah,
could be.
Would it make sense for them to trade for Deshaun Watson and give up all the assets?
Oh God, yeah, because their window's wide open right now because they have a bunch of young contracts, and I believe they have quite a bit of cap space.
Yeah, I just don't think they have the draft capital. I'm not sure what their draft capital looks like. Could be.
No, but that's where I say like they would probably have to give up more players in that case. But at that point, you're giving up starters, and that will completely change the dynamic of your team. And so, what's the net game when all of a sudden now you got places you just created holes?
I guess it depends on what starting pieces you're giving up.
Right.
Are you giving up, your top two wide receivers? Are you giving up your top two offensive linemen? Are you giving up, the two best pieces on your defense? I doubt it. I mean,
you're not giving up.
I think the starting pieces that you're giving up are starting pieces that can be replaced. I don't think you're giving up top 5, top 10 talent to offer your team minus the quarterback position. And even then, whether you're Miami or Washington, you don't have that anyway.
Right. And I don't think Houston goes after any team's quarterback. You just literally drafted Davis Mills in the second round.
Yeah.
So what's the point of them going after a quarterback? Because now they're going to start him because Tyrod's out. Tyrod was on his way to the MVP.
If you pick, whether you pick up Tua or whether you pick up Taylor Henneke, they're going to back up Davis Mills, right? They're going to back up the guy that you just drafted. They're not going to come in and take the starting job from him.
I mean, it is Houston. Like, okay, we're gonna give it to you now.
Fair enough.
Yay!
We're gonna replace you with this guy, and then we're gonna run the ball 45 times a game. So
wait.
Moving on from
they got to sign another over the hill running back then.
Yeah. So the Vikings beat up Seattle. Here's another team that is interesting to me because I think Seattle's the worst team in the NFC West, and by worst team I mean 11-6. So they're the worst team in the NFC West, and the Vikings. I can't remember what I had them at. I think I had them at third in the division at 6. Yeah, I had them at 6-11 this year.
Yeah, I think I had them at 7-10.
Are the Vikings what their record says they are? Are they? Because they've played some really close games. I mean, they
could say technically they could be 3-0.
Yeah, they absolutely could be 3-0 right now. They lost week 1. I believe they lost by
on
1
field
point.
Goal.
They lost last week by a field goal. This team is not really. This is where I kind of threw this one in there because it's kind of a curveball. If they're what their record says they are, they're a competitive team in the NFL. Because you lose 27-24 to the 2-1 Bengals, and you lose 34-33 to the 3-0 Cardinals.
And with the chance to win it, but they missed the kick at the end of the game.
And now you're 1-1 against the NFC West, who we say is the best division out there. And not only are you 1-1, but you only lost by 1 point to the Cardinals.
Right.
So are they what their record says they are, or are they better than that?
Well, the record says 1-2, so they're 1-2.
But are they better than a 1-2 team, though, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, actually, so far they have played better than that. They've played like a 3-0 team because they very well should be 3-0 because they actually blew that game against, or actually, I take that back. They came back nice in that Bengals game to tie it up to get it to overtime, and then just kind of blew it in overtime.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think the Vikings can be better than what their record says that they are right now. They should be 3-0. They outright should be. They blew that game week 1 and ended up losing in overtime to the Bengals. They blew a lead in week 2 and ended up losing to the Cardinals. And then they come out and they rock the Seahawks in Minnesota. Both of those games, the first 2 weeks, were both on the road. It's always tough to win on the road in the NFL. Now they welcome the Cleveland Browns, and I'll tell you right now, as good as the Cleveland Browns look today against Chicago Bears, if they were playing the Minnesota Vikings today with all the mistakes that they were making on offense, the Minnesota Vikings probably win that game today against Cleveland, in Cleveland. Then they get the Lions and the Panthers. So, I mean, they could very easily be 4-2 before they face the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football at the end of October on Halloween night.
No.
Ooh,
because we're going to take that horn and turn it sideways. I can't seal the Rocks line, and I will never say anything good about.
And turn Vikings. No,
right up his candy.
If you smell, we probably just got copyrighted. Yeah. Back when WWE was good. Wrestling's still it's all right. It just I can't get into it. I used to get into it all the time. My son Brandon Jr. is really into wrestling. Him and I used to watch it all the time together, but now I can't get into it as much as I used to. It's just the writing in it is horrible.
Does Michelle know about this?
What?
Drew and Javier are going back and forth and says, Javier, I know. Just giving up while these two bicker like a married old couple.
Hey, that's what this show is all about. It is 17-0 Green Bay right now. Heading in you got 54 seconds left in the second half. San Francisco almost just returned a kickoff for a touchdown, but Crosby was able to stop them short. 17-0.
He's the most jack kicker in the league.
It's 17-0 right now. God, Green Bay looks good. That's bad. It's bad for me because I did not pick Green Bay to win this game. Did you pick Green Bay? Oh,
yes.
Oh, we could have. What happens if we have a 3-way tie on the Wheel of Death?
Everybody dies.
We all have to spin it.
I think if we all tie,
why aren't we all immune?
We all have to do it. There's no immunity.
But wait, did we all lose or did we all win? We all lose if we're all tied?
Well, then we technically could just call Wyatt the loser then and be like, nope, Wyatt lost.
Yeah, that's true. Wyatt could spin it all by himself. I mean, he's 0-16 this week. So, I mean, he was 0-16 last. I mean, this guy's 0-32. For some guy who's like a fantasy guru, he really doesn't know football very well.
Wyatt hasn't picked a single game right yet.
Actually, no, yeah. He's more than that. He's 0-48. This is the third week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 0-48. God, that's a horrible record. Speaking of overrated, we're going to go ahead and get to another break. And when we come back, we'll finish out the show with some shop talk. We will get to your guys' comments. We will also get to the Monday Night Football game. And then we will get out of here. God, this show's gone by quick. We've been arguing a lot.
It's true.
Tori, are you Green Bay Packers going to blow this lead?
Nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
And we are back as I am off arguing with Luke G in the YouTube comments here. Luke G says, serious question. When Bears fans say bear down, do they really mean there's a bear down, or do they mean we should put them down because they're suffering? No, Luke, actually, we say it could be worse. We could be Lions fans. At any rate.
Luke G did just text me and said that he loves you.
I love you too, Luke. It's all good fun. We love giving each other crap, but in the end, both of our teams suck, and we're both suffering together. It's just the way of the world.
Wait, who's
at least we're not 0-3 though. Just saying.
Who's in first place?
That right now is actually, well, I guess technically, yeah. I guess technically it's the Green Bay Packers, right? Because they're half game up at this point right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're up 17-0 right now. 19 seconds go before halftime.
They're about to
San
score.
Francisco's
Though.
threatening. I don't know if they're about to score, but San Francisco, they might put 3 points on the board, maybe.
Oh, and he dropped it.
Yeah, that's definitely, that was pass interference the entire way. Did they call that? I don't know if they called that.
No, there was a holding call in the backfield.
Oh wow, that was pass interference the entire way. Oh yeah, they did call it. It's 1st and goal now, and now there's holding on that one. Oh boy. All right, you might be ahead of me here. I've got 11 seconds to go in the second quarter. All right, so Monday night game tomorrow night: Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles. It's gonna be an awful game. How do the Philadelphia Eagles win this game? What's their keys to victory?
Stop Dak Prescott from tossing 500 yards. 500 yards on you. Score more points than the other team. No, it's all going to come down to Philadelphia's defense. Is if Philadelphia can get pressure on Dak, stop Dak, you can stop that entire Dallas offense. Zeke Elliott proved last year he cannot carry a team on his own without Dak. So if you stop Dak and you can get him rattled and get him making mistakes, you're going to be just fine. Gallup's on IR right now, so they're down to CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper with their big trio. But I mean, it's better than most team starters. So, but either way, that's what they got to do. They got to shut down Dak. They got to get to him. They got to hit him, put some pressure on him, give him those happy feet, and maybe make him throw a ball a little bit before he's ready to.
Yeah. So your keys to victory are a lot more in depth than mine. My key to victory is hope that Jalen Hurts ends up on the COVID list and does not get to show up tomorrow. That's how you might have a chance at competing in this game. No, realistically, you have to play a flawless defensive game against the Dallas Cowboys in order to have a chance at this one. You have to be perfect on defense. You cannot allow them to get the big play. You cannot allow them to establish themselves on the run. You're going to have to stop Tony. I'm not even worried about Zeke at this point. Tony Pollard is who you're going to have to stop. And, on the other side of the ball, the Dallas Cowboys, their key to victory is going to be doing just what they've been doing so far this season. Allow Zeke to protect Dak. Allow Zeke to be in there and be a weapon through blocking and a weapon through little rollout passes and dump passes. Because he right now is not the same threat running wise. He's just not. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if it's scheme. I don't know if it's just I just don't know what's going on with Zeke, but he's not the same Zeke as he has been.
The chunky got him chunky.
Yeah. So I think that he has to go ahead and they have to keep running that same scheme. They have to utilize him in the blocking game. And Dak just has to be Dak. And this team will roll Philadelphia. This could be a snoozer by the end of halftime, if not by the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm not. I will not watch that game tomorrow night because otherwise I'll fall asleep on the couch at like 7:00 at night.
Is your couch comfortable?
It's very comfortable.
Trey Lance just ran it in for a touchdown, by the way.
Eh.
8 plays, 32 yards. It's a 10-point game headed in a half.
I
believe the Niners get the ball first.
Everybody was picking like the Packers to win this one big, and I'm like, are you serious? Have you seen us play out there lately? We don't play well.
Is this Aaron Rodgers showcase game for San Francisco? That's where he wants to go, isn't it? That was an interesting conversation I heard on the radio earlier. It was on ESPN. It was on their pregame show. They're talking about it.
Well, Ian Rappaport was saying,
yeah,
Aaron wanted to go.
Yeah,
I put about as much stock into anything that comes out of Ian Rappaport's mouth as.
Well, let's just have the conversation, because I think that we can all admit, and you're a Packers fan, but even you can admit that it looks more likely than not that this could be Aaron's last season in Green Bay. Is that a fair statement? I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying right now at this point, it probably looks more likely than not by what we saw in the offseason and then in how he handled his press conference preseason, plus the tweet of the last ride and all that stuff. So if he goes to San Francisco, what do they do with Trey Lance? Do they let him sit for 2 years behind Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, I can think of a lot worse quarterbacks to sit behind.
I agree.
And learn from.
I don't disagree, but does that set Trey Lance back?
The only thing it sets him back on is contract and getting.
Well, a lot of people think Trey Lance is ready now. I mean, they're already clamoring for him over Jimmy G.
Yeah,
but a lot of people think that Lance is ready to go now.
A lot of people can think whatever they want. the coaches are the head coach for a freaking reason, and Kyle Shanahan's not a bad head coach. So I don't know. Am I going to say I know more than Kyle Shanahan? Probably not. I have respect for Kyle Shanahan, so that's my thing. Is obviously there's something there. If they thought he gave them a better chance to win right now, he'd be playing.
I agree. And I still think a lot of people forget that 2 years ago, this was a Super Bowl team that just was obliterated by injury last year. And I mean obliterated. I mean 50+ injuries to your starters. Obliterated. I mean, that's more than I think any team could ever handle.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just think that as I'm looking at the comments here, I just think that Trey Lance, I think that Trey Lance sitting behind Jimmy G for a year could be a good thing for him. I'm not so sure it's a good thing for Trey Lance to have to sit for another 2, maybe even 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers, because I don't think that he'd be willing to do that. I think that would cause issues for him, which in turn causes issues inside the locker room. It's kind of like when Jimmy G was in New England, right? Bill Belichick, it was well known that Bill Belichick wanted Jimmy G to take over, and he wanted to trade Tom Brady. We all know that would have been a stupid decision. But is that the situation that Trey Lance would be in? I think so.
No, because they're already drawing plays up for him, so it wouldn't be like total sin. Like it would be more like Steve McNair when Steve McNair came to the league, where he didn't play, but they had certain areas where they would bring him into the game. You
think Aaron Rodgers would still allow for that scheme? You think Aaron Rodgers is like okay with coming out for a couple plays in a series to allow Trey Lance to come in?
I mean, if your paycheck doesn't change. If your paycheck doesn't change, what the hell does it matter?
Yeah, ask Tom Brady, ask Aaron Rodgers. These guys are ultimate competitors. I don't think that he would want that to happen. I really don't. And then Luke G chimes in. Your boy Luke G says, A-Rod said he wanted to go to the 49ers. What do you think about that, Tori? It doesn't matter what you think. The mute button is back, baby. I can control it tonight. Man Hour Nation, rise up.